The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just another 30 seconds or so. Hey, if you just arrived, we want to see your questions or your comments in the chat feature about exercise. So if you've got some questions about exercise or you've got some ideas on what you're doing for exercise to burn more calories, we'd love to see that inside the chat feature. If you're using a mobile device, you may have to tap on your screen to find participants, and then you may find the chat feature that way. You may also just kind of scroll down to the bottom of the screen and click on the little chat bubble. That chat bubble will pop up each time you hover over the screen with your mouse. And so go ahead and then throw in a message, or in the chat feature, ask a question or make a comment about what are you doing for exercise right now. Great. Thanks for commenting, everybody. If you just arrived, go ahead and throw a message in the chat feature and let us know what you're doing for exercise, or if you have some ideas on or questions about exercise, we'd love to see that in there. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the OPTAVIA Habits of Health webinar. My name is David Bush, and I'm one of the certified OPTAVIA coaches. And tonight, our topic is going to be exercise. And I didn't say extra fries, I said exercise does not erase bad eating. Now, some of you may have been like me and you did some exercise to kind of burn off some extra calories or some unhealthy food, maybe some extra fries. Has anybody done that? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had the mindset of I need to go do exercise to burn off the food, or maybe you thought about doing exercise before you actually went and ate unhealthy food or large portion sizes. Does anybody have that mentality that exercise was a punishment for eating more or maybe eating unhealthy foods? If you have, I'd love to see a 1 in the chat, because that's been my experience and my reality for many years prior to joining the OPTAVIA program. I had to go through a little bit of a mindset shift. And so tonight, during our Habits of Health webinar, we're going to be talking a little bit about exercise and some strategies and how you can use these tactics and tips to not only help you to accelerate yourself to get to your goal, but to also sustain your goal and to go beyond a healthy weight and actually optimize your health and well-being. So I can't wait for you to learn some of the tips and tactics that some of our coaches and clients are utilizing. If you're a guest of the webinar and this is your first time, welcome. We're glad that you're here. This is our weekly webinar that we get a chance to share with our OPTAVIA community how to incorporate healthy habits one at a time to create lifelong transformation. If you want to go check out the OPTAVIA YouTube channel, you can watch replays of this, and you can also watch this as a podcast. Make sure you talk to your OPTAVIA coach or the person that referred you here to get the link to make sure that you can watch replays, because the content in these Habits of Health webinars are really solid, and they help you to actually take this idea of healthy information, healthy education, and turn it into application, which turns into results. So make sure you get the link from your coach to get the recordings and to get the podcast link. You can actually just go right into your podcast player if you're a user of podcasts, and you can actually search for OPTAVIA, and they'll actually bring up the podcast that we have available. So the question that I want to throw out.
And
quick change artist, I love it.
Hey,
welcome back, Dave.
I'm a magician.
Give him applause.
I'm a magician. I just disappeared.
You're welcome back. Yeah.
Nice. Well, okay, so let me just start this all again, and I'll get this PowerPoint open up, and hopefully we can get back on the ball here. All right. The pranks are over with. Now it's time to get down to business, and we're behind schedule. So let's go ahead and get started. So my question before I was taken off by a UFO and brought back to Earth was, Are you using exercise as a form of punishment for the food that you ate? Or are you looking at exercise as actually a treat for your body, a treat for your mind? That's what we like to do at OPTAVIA, is try to give you a healthy perspective of what exercise and habits of healthy motion and all the different things that come with exercise, what they actually bring to you in terms of health, vitality, energy, clear thought process. Our trilogy of getting activity in, they're not creating optimal health and well-being. And tonight we're going to break some myths that you may have about exercise. We're also going to tell you the truth about healthy motion and how exercise may not be what you think it is. You may find out that what you know just isn't so as it relates to exercise. We're also going to show you how exercise and healthy motion can help you to accelerate your progress, and the whole NEAT system about why it's so important to understand non-exercise activity thermogenesis and how you can incorporate exercise into the 16 hours a day that you're likely awake, and how it's not about going to the gym for an hour for most people. And then we're going to talk about how the exercise activity thermogenesis, or the EAT system, can actually take you to a place that NEAT can't take you. So it's always nice to be progressing and optimizing your health. I love this quote by our co-founder and medical director and the author of The Habits of Health, Dr. Anderson. He says, exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, mood, and attitude. And I don't know if you have had an experience with exercise changing your mind, mood, and attitude, but I would love to see those of you that have had that experience put something in the chat. Let those people know that what exercise gives you. And if you're not a rigorous exerciser or a fitness fanatic, put that in the comments too, because there's many people that are wanting to create a healthy body that are not necessarily gym rats. They're not fitness fanatics. They're not exercise enthusiasts. They actually are fearful of going to the gym. And so I'd love to see it in the chat feature of who is actually somebody that maybe found exercise as a fun thing to do, and what did you do? What did you find that was so fun? Because this idea of community and collaboration is what OPTAVIA is all about. So let's talk about barriers. While we see the chat blowing up, let's talk about what are the most common barriers to exercise. I'd love to see what your thoughts are. What would you say is the most common barrier to exercise? Go ahead and throw your idea into the chat, and then I'll throw out some ideas that are actually the most common barriers according to Dr. Anderson in his Habits of Health book. All right, so you ready? Okay, so here's the ones that Dr. Anderson says. Most people think that it takes too much time. But time, we all have 168 hours in a week. And did you know that if you had a 3-day-a-week workout, you would actually use less than 2% of your 168 hours a week? So really, it's not a matter of time. It's a matter of value and priority. Some people don't know what to do, and we find that often to be true with our clients that are doing our health program, is that they just don't know what to do. Or maybe it's the environment, like in the Midwest, it's the weather. It's gotten really cold back here. But cold doesn't necessarily mean that you can't exercise. It just may mean that the preferred exercise strategy may not be available to you. So you have to find more ways of doing it. Support would be another one. Motivation would be another one. Energy, I'm just too tired. Most people that are carrying around extra weight are not sleeping well. When they're not sleeping well and they're not eating well and they're not drinking water and they're not moving or exercising, they don't have a lot of energy. But what's great about our program is that when they get into a healthy fat burn and they start following our healthy nutrition plan, their energy levels pick up, blood sugar levels level out, and they begin to start feeling like moving their body. So if you're not fully on the plan or you're not rocking our healthy lifestyle program, this would be a great idea for you to just check out, because when you start rocking the plan, you start feeling increased energy and you start overcoming barriers that are inside of your mind and not necessarily inside of your body. Then there's also the cost. People think that they have to buy a gym membership. That's not necessarily the case. But what's happened is, and this is something that's staggering, 60% of Americans are not exercising for more than 10 minutes a day. 25% of Americans are not exercising or being active at all. They're actually considered to be sedentary. And when people think that they can exercise off a bad nutrition plan, that may be true while they're doing it. That doesn't mean that they're actually creating health, because it's not just about calories in and calories out, right? I mean, a calorie is a calorie, yes, it's a unit of energy, but it's not necessarily a transferable value, meaning that just because you ate 2,500 calories and you burned off 500 and your body was burning 2,000, that doesn't mean that you're equal in terms of health. It means you're equal maybe in terms of weight. And some people that have dieted or done weight loss programs, what they found is that they could get to a healthy weight maybe with exercise. But as soon as they lost motivation, as soon as their life changed, as soon as the exercise equipment broke or the class that they were going to stopped or changed schedules, all of a sudden they started calorie creeping because they didn't have a support system and they didn't have a good nutrition plan. And that idea of those extra fries, they weren't being picked up with the exercise. And then the other fact is that if you have home-based exercise equipment, that's great. But 90% of exercise equipment goes unused in less than 1 year because why? Loss of motivation, loss of results. People only do it for a season, and if that season ends because they end up getting results that they want, then they oftentimes will just justify, push it back, and procrastinate. We want to break through all these barriers. So if any of these statistics are you, hey, welcome to the club. I think all of us have been in these statistics. Throw a 2 in the chat if you're inside of these statistics. If I had the opportunity, I'd throw a 2 in this chat, because there was a time when I wasn't into moving my body because I didn't have a support structure to help me to guide myself. So what happens is people that try to out-exercise an unhealthy nutrition plan, they oftentimes find themselves as disappointed as the people that are just trying to diet to lose weight. Because what happens is they oftentimes don't do enough exercise. Many of you have seen programs like The Biggest Loser and other programs where rigorous exercise is a major component of weight loss. Well, the U.S. Institute of Medicine actually said that to lose weight with eating a healthy, natural meal plan, using healthy, natural foods, you would actually need 90 minutes of strenuous exercise a day to actually lose weight and reach a healthy body weight. Now, that's a lot of exercise, 90 minutes. That's not including getting back and forth to the place of exercise if you have to travel. So this is why so many people struggle with the idea that they're going to exercise off the extra calories. Here's another one, and this is right from Dr. Ray's book. It's on page 64 of the Habits of Health book. And it talks about the idea of what it would take to burn off an extra 1 pound of fat. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. The average American would actually have to run 33.8 miles to burn off 3,500 calories. What? 33.8 miles to burn off 3,500 calories. So if you have an extra 30 pounds of fat, you've got a significant long way to go and a long running trail to run on. And most of us are not runners. We can't run because of injury, or we can't run because of cardiovascular health. And so we're not even running. So to think that we're going to go work it off with a nice brisk walk, that's a great habit of health, and it's a great thing to incorporate, but we're not going to oftentimes lose weight. And if we go out there and try to exercise off the extra pounds, what happens is that we oftentimes get injured. So when you take an obese or overweight individual who's not been exercising and you put them into a rigorous fitness program, or you put them into an environment where people are pushing them and prodding them to do performance-based exercise without proper supervision, what happens is those people end up getting hurt, or their body feels like it's so sore and it feels like it's so lacking of energy because they've just given all they had to this exercise program that they do what? Put it in the chat. What do they do when they feel sore, tired, lacking energy, and they don't have the time to prepare a healthy meal? What do? They oftentimes overeat. They eat something because they feel like that they've deserved it. They had a really good workout. Now, I'm not saying that exercise is bad. Please don't get us wrong. Exercise is an excellent habit of health, but we need to understand a process. And for most people, this process of incorporating non-exercise activity and helping your total energy expenditure, or the TEE number, to grow so that you're burning more calories, but you're doing it in a safe and healthy environment. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that and some different strategies on how you can do that. So the goal of NEAT, which is in chapter 14 and 15 of Dr. A's Habits of Health book, he gives great strategies on how to go about incorporating non-exercise activity. The goal of non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, is to gradually increase activity and to burn additional calories throughout the day. It's the idea of helping you to accelerate your weight loss journey without having you to think about extra time or cost or the fear of going into a gym. You can start doing things right now to start increasing your flexibility, increasing your core strength, your mobility, helping you to build a healthier lifestyle, and to prepare you for more vigorous activity. It's a gradual step. It's a graduation from sedentary living to the idea of being more active. And then once you're more active, you can begin to graduate to more cardiovascular or fitness programs. So take the idea of a sedentary job or taking the time to sit. Sitting is the new smoking. Actually, they call it the sitting disease. It actually has worse consequences as somebody that's been a smoker, because this sedentary lifestyle of sitting most of your life is actually causing your body to lose its muscle mass. You're not getting that extra cardiovascular health by just getting up and moving more often, and you're not moving your body very often. So what's happening is that sarcopenia, and you're losing that muscle mass, and you're beginning to become more fragile, and that ends up leading to injuries and a whole bunch of other things. So what we want to do when you're first getting started with the NEAT program is we want you to get a proper stance. So I want you to just take a moment. If you're just relaxing, I want you to hold your chest up, and I want you to get good posture, and I want you just to hold that for 10 seconds, and just hold your stomach muscle. Like if you want to have your belly button, just hold your belly button in and just hold that just for 10 seconds and then breathe out. That could be a simple stance or posture strategy. You could also stand up versus sitting down. So everybody, if you have the ability, stand up for just a moment. I'm not going to stand up because I'm on a presentation, but I want you to stand up. Now I want you to remember this. If you stand up for 60 minutes versus sitting down, you watch television standing up, you go watch a ball game and watch your grandson or your child watch or go do a sport, standing up for 60 minutes is going to burn another 30 or 60 calories per hour. 30 or 60 calories per hour if you stand up versus if you sit down. That's a very simple thing. Strolling is another thing. Taking more steps, parking farther away from the grocery store, parking farther away from your place of work or worship. Taking the stairs is another great strategy. Doing little exercises around cleaning your home. I'm going to have Janelle talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but doing fun things, playing with your kids and turning off the technology, finding simple things that you can do to burn a few extra calories. If you've got some good ideas, I'd love to see them blown up in the chat message so that we can have those shared with our community. So to increase your total energy expenditure or to burn more calories so that you rapid fire you accelerate your fat loss during your weight loss journey, or if you're in the transition or the equilibration phase 2 of our program, you can start to consume more calories over time as you're transitioning away from our meal plan on the 5 and 1. You can actually start burning more calories so you can now consume a few extra calories, but not overconsume. And if you start incorporating those extra calorie burning activities on a consistent basis, you can start creating a habit of health so that you're utilizing all the hours in your awakening day to burn those extra calories, not have to go to do some rigorous exercise program that you can't stay committed to. What EAT does is the next level. Once you've mastered the non-exercise activities, and there's a whole bunch of great resources in the appendix of the Habits of Health book. There's also great resources at drwayneanderson.com. If you go into that section, there's some downloadable PDF documents. If you go to drwayneanderson.com, you can pull those resources off. And you also have the ability to go and progress from there. So for those of you that are already doing some exercises, I just went over that, and that's a great strategy for you to maybe think about. I'm a former professional football player. I know how to work out. I'm not scared of working out, but I needed to incorporate non-exercise activities into my life too, because as I'm getting older, my mind's writing checks that my body can't cash. I can't do some of the stuff that I used to do and not get injured. And so I'm beginning to incorporate some non-exercise activities as a former professional athlete. The exercise activities is oftentimes thought of this: okay, to go exercise and get fit, I got to do a bunch of weightlifting. Well, not necessarily. That's not the strategy, but weight training actually is giving you more calorie burning opportunities. So there's a lot more to muscle building than meets your eye. What happens when you do weight resistance exercise is that you're actually getting more cardiovascular fit, and you're also getting to the point where you're building more muscle, and muscle burns 50 times as many calories as fat does for a pound of muscle versus a pound of fat. So the more that you start incorporating some resistance training into your health and your life, you're going to not only feel a sense of accomplishment because you're going to be getting stronger and more fit, but you're also going to become more cardiovascular fit if you're doing the right type of training program. And Dr. A has a great training program for exercise activity. And what that's doing is as you're beginning to add some muscle mass into your body, you're not getting bulky, you're just replacing fat with muscle, which is helping you to burn more calories. So I want to throw it over really quick to our friend Carrie Jewell. Carrie is a corporate wellness consultant. She's a former group fitness instructor, and now she's one of our certified OPTAVIA coaches. And I want her to talk a little bit more about the benefits of exercise and how to take the easy approach to exercise activities after you've mastered the NEAT principles. Carrie, would you share a few ideas with us?
Sure. Well, I think the thing to remember is that picture that you had up there of the weight trainer. Most of us aren't going to look like that. Most of us aren't going to work out and lift that level of weights. And we don't have to be healthy, and we don't have to see the fitness results that we're wanting to see. So if there is a way that you can incorporate strength training, and it doesn't have to be with weights. Body weight training is awesome. There's push-ups, there's sit-ups, there's lunges, there's squats without any additional weight. Just your body weight can help those muscles to develop. And doing that on a regular basis. One of the habits of health is, how do we incorporate 30 minutes of activity daily? So that may be a 1 mile walk that took you 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes of some strengthening and stretching. If you don't have time in your schedule to get to the gym, there are things you can do where you are before you go to bed, when you first get up in the morning. And like you said, Dave, it's important that we are starting to move or strengthening, because as we age, it's going to be harder to just get down on the floor and get back up. So all those muscles that you have to use to do that, I tell clients all the time, just get down on the floor and get back up a couple times a day. Most of us think of that as, oh, that's such a simple thing. What good will that do? It will do a ton of good. It's amazing how many people can't do that. But regular activity, whether it's a walk, finding something that you enjoy, and we're going to talk about that later, but keep it simple. Don't feel like you have to have a 90-minute workout to get any good out of it. The more you can simplify, put it in short bursts throughout the day, or even just set aside that 30 minutes to clear your mind, to kind of manage your stress, either to start your day or right after work, is going to help you not just in weight maintenance. Exercise has so many benefits. I always say that exercise covers a multitude of areas. So it's important that not just for weight loss, but for our overall health, that we're moving and strengthening our muscles.
That's so good. And you know, there's really a exercise buffet here available to you of different ways that you can begin to start. And the art is in the start. And Dr. A talks about just doing one simple push-up. That may be all you can do. And you may not be able to do it on the ground. You may have to go against a wall being stood up and maybe at a slight angle, and that's where you start. And you begin to get more angled, and then you get down on the floor, and then you do your one push-up. But begin to start challenging yourself in a safe environment. Talk to your OPTAVIA coach about some really good strategies for you and where you're at in your journey. We don't want to overdo it in the first 3 weeks of being on the program, but we want to start incorporating healthy activity into our life. And you know, Janelle's one of the ones that she likes to have fun when she exercises. So I'm going to bring Janelle on and have her tell you a little bit more about how she was able to incorporate exercise into her busy life. Janelle?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, when I started with jumping into the OPTAVIA community, I wrote down some objectives. And one of my main ones with exercise was not to love exercise. I just didn't want to hate it anymore. I hated to exercise. I don't like to get sweaty. I mean, ew, who loves to get sweaty? I'm not competitive, so all of you trying to beat your personal best, when I beat my personal best, I'm like, cool. school. So it's not really motivating to me. And so that was kind of my objective. So I had a friend who invited me to an exercise dance class. And I never thought of it before. I'm like, wait, what? We can dance and have fun and we get our exercise in. So I started going to these dance classes and I loved it. And we have all kinds of dance fitness classes in all of our different health clubs and stuff like that. So I just started being like a dance junkie. I just went to all the different classes. I loved it. And I was feeling better and I was losing weight on with OPTAVIA and started incorporating, I love to ride bikes. So I went and I got a bicycle and we started having family bike rides. That was something else that I really enjoyed. And then even walking, this is something that I think is so fun. When I get together with friends, I don't invite them to coffee anymore. We don't even go out to eat that much. I mean, we still can, but I invite them to go on a walk. And sometimes we grab our coffee and we have our walk while we're drinking our coffee. But it's a great way to get out and just to have some fun. Another thing is playing with our kids. Instead of sitting on the sidelines, something awesome about being a part of OPTAVIA is you're going to start feeling better and so much more energy, and you're going to be able to get out there with your kids. So when I take my son to a trampoline park, I don't sit and watch him. I get out there and I jump and I swing from the trapeze into the foam pits with him, and we have a blast. I'll get out and I'll kick the ball with him. We love to go hiking. I got a pair of rollerblades recently, and I'm a little nervous of, I don't know, breaking a hip or something, but for the first time in my life, I'm wearing all my pads and stuff, but getting out there with my son and we're skating and we're biking and we're hiking and we're dancing, and we'll do dance parties in the house. And my big encouragement to you is if you are like me, some of you are like all about fitness and goals and all that, so you just have fun with your workouts. But for the rest of us, find something that you love and that you enjoy, and really count it as joy to get out there and to be active.
So good, Janelle. And yeah, I mean, this is a place where really the OPTAVIA community can be one of the greatest resources to you, because, we're all a little different. And so just hearing Janelle, I laugh at her because we're a lot of opposite when it comes to goal setting and, trying to beat your best, but we still are different, but we're all doing the same program. And so I'd love to see it in the chat message of what it is that you are liking to do in the chat feature. And remember, pull all of these ideas and then take them back to your OPTAVIA coach and create a plan, create a structural tension chart, where Dr. Anderson actually has the structural tension chart in chapter 3 and chapter 4 of his Habits of Health book. And use the structural tension chart to begin to think about, what is your desired outcome? What do you want to create in your life? And then what's your current reality? And then work with your coach to develop an action plan to start moving up your perceived rate of exertion. Maybe you're at a point where, you're just kind of walking and you're drinking coffee and that's what you've been doing. But you really want to improve. You want to do maybe a 5K, or you'd like to walk a 5K. So begin to talk to your coach about ways that you can begin to graduate and move. Remember, this is not a weight loss program that you're doing. This is an optimal health and well-being program that's helping you to create more optimal days. Now I want to throw it over to Karen and Mike Harrison, who are great at planning and really organizing their schedule around what matters most. And I want them to talk a little bit more about how to put exercise into your calendar, especially over the busy time in the holiday.
Right. Well, I know that the gods have a sense of humor, because in my adult life, one of my closest friends is a Broadway dancer and a model. And so, of course, when I came into the OPTAVIA community, my health coach was going to be a former pro football player. We will not mention any names, but his name starts with David Bush. And he had to get really creative when it came to me, because I will tell you what, I am not that girl who was raised in a family. We did not hike and eat granola on the weekends, you guys. We sat on the couch and watched those people on TV, right? So David had to get super creative with me. And I just told him, I'm not that girl. And he said, well, okay, fine. Don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can do. Well, in the course of him working with me, and it's so cool to have a coach. And if you haven't figured this out yet, coaching is like the kabam. He helped me figure out a way to incorporate steps into every single activity that I do. So one of the cool things is that now I get to be a health coach full time, and health coaching is done mostly on the phone and on the computer. So David taught me how to not just talk on the phone, but walk on the phone. So my clients, my kids, my family knows that when the phone rings, get out of the way because Karen's going to be walking. And so I've created that habit of walking all during the day. So I didn't really have to add it into my calendar. I do it while I'm living my life, and while I'm working and while I'm playing, I'm walking. Or if I'm on my computer, which a lot of my coaching is on the computer, I stand at my kitchen counter. So, sometimes you have to get really creative and just put it in the chat, not a 1 or a 2, but a big fat 0. If you grew up with 0 exercise and no one in your life to model this for you, that was me. Look at all the zeros in the chat. That's what my life was. But now I've created the healthy habit of walking while I'm standing while I'm doing this. So, I did have to be mindful of it at first, but I did it so often and repeated it so much that now instead of being mindful, I don't mind, right? I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it all the time. And it's created a healthy habit. And it's really cool because you don't think about your habits. Once that habit is established and formed, you don't have to think about it. And David taught me this too. A good habit is just as hard to break as a bad habit. So do it until it becomes a habit, and you'll find that it doesn't take a whole lot of time out of your day. But you can incorporate neat steps into your everyday activities.
That's great. Well, I know, Mike, you're a big guy on personal and professional growth. And one of the things we can do is exercise our mind in watching the Habits of Health replays. And maybe you could share a little bit about what exercising or walking or just listening to those replays of the Habits of Health Zooms really help to kind of reinforce those principles inside the book and the workbook.
Yeah, so many people think that they need to have, exercise equipment to, do exercising. And, when I was at my highest, 320 pounds, Karen bought me an ab roller. And I just need to tell everybody that thing didn't work for me at 320 pounds. It just didn't. And, she did buy me an exercise bike. Now that did work. Because I could put my shirts on the handlebars and they would dry nicely. I could fold beach towels and things like that on the seats. That kind of equipment, I know, if you've ever bought any equipment thinking that you were going to get healthy, that doesn't work. But we have the equipment for you with the podcast that we have, with the healthy habits. You have everything that you need with your coach on the other end of the phone. I love the idea, and this is exactly what we do with our clients, is instead of talking on the phone, you're walking with the phone. Get up and get moving while you're listening to our podcast. That's the kind of equipment that you want to invest in, not the ab roller. It won't work.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike and Karen. Well, hey, that concludes our Habits of Health webinar. We hope that this has been educational for you. We hope that this has taken this principle of habits of healthy motion and put it into real life terms, giving you lots of ideas. So make sure you contact your coach with more ideas of what you'd like to apply into your next week, and they'll help you to take it to that next level.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.